now, but yeah, welcome anyone who is watching here on YouTube later. We're going to be doing some more VOD review, this time with JamBox and Newsy. We're going to be seeing level 10 gameplay again, and let's see, what are both of your ranks in game currently?
I'm
I
bronze.
I was almost at 1400 the other day, and then just lost like 130 points. Um, but yeah, usually around mid silver, and Newsy's actually more like a low silver. She just doesn't want to admit
Okay.
it.
We'll say like that high, very high bronze to even high silver range kind of gameplay here. This is like, would you say this is accurate? The players who are getting more comfortable on level 8 and trying to branch out to level 10 and get more comfortable with that gameplay?
Yeah,
Or
I think so.
Absolutely.
okay. For majority of your matches when you play people online in rank, do you usually play more level 8 or do you play 10?
I play 8, and then I feel like I should be playing 10 so that I can focus on getting better. But it's like, with 8, I feel like I can work on higher level skills because I don't automatically die just because of one mistake.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of level 10, like almost exclusively, but I've also been noticing like I kind of just do bad habits like panic swap or like I'm doing a lot of vertical chains and like plus fours rather than like setting stuff up better and doing horizontals. Just because like I have no time.
I
Mm-hmm.
totally feel that. I do a lot of vertical chains too, and I feel like they get eaten by the ghost matches a lot of the times, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah. So my general experience with players around your level, I feel like as you're getting used to level 10 and stuff too, it is a lot with that health that's going to be a big thing, and as well as trying to just get faster to find clears. So I think garbage send is probably just generally one of the most important things to work on in this rank in general, because it's really hard to be consistent with your openers and just follow-ups and things like that. And the more ways you can find bigger chains and combos to send it, just keep your opponent overwhelmed, no matter like not doing a specific strategy or not, just constantly sending garbage is one thing that I'll always like point out to try to climb to that next rank. I don't think
Yeah, definitely.
defense is too important right now. It certainly will help, but yeah, just topping off your opponent for sure is like one of the big things here. But yeah, we won't get to know much until we start looking at this gameplay here. Anything else I should know before this, or else we can probably just hop right into here.
Let's go
I
for it.
will say there is a period for a couple of sets where I feel like I couldn't get my footing. And I don't know if this is just part of the growing pains of transferring from level 8 to level 10, where it's just kind of, you know, it can be kind of tough to get your seating. So there's like maybe 4 or 5 games where I died within like 30 seconds or something before I finally was able to like, you know, um, kind of get my momentum going again.
Gotcha. I heard everything you're saying. Your voice was trailing off a little bit there, just for
Oh, I'm
future reference.
sorry.
You're good, but
Okay, I've got my mic right in my mouth now. It should work a little better.
I would totally agree with what you're saying there, though. It's just, especially with so many different situations that can occur to you at the beginning of level 10 as well. I mean, that's even common for a lot of platinum players to take a lot of quick 20 or 30-second deaths, depending on on what's dealt to them and how you were able to manage with your board, because sometimes you get into a funk, or you just don't know what to do with what's sent to you, and all of a sudden you have less than a second to react and you can't get there.
Absolutely.
All right, let's bring this up, take this text down here, and let me close out of panel attack on my end really quick. But yeah, this was a set earlier this month, I believe you guys played, according to this, on November 11th.
Yep.
Yes.
Awesome. So we got this here. We're going to basically look through it. I'll slow it down a little bit here. This is a longer one than what I did before, so we might not get to everything here, but I hope I can help you guys as much as I can. But I'm looking forward to this. Shoutouts to SK, Dialon, and Tay also in chat. I'll try to respond to you guys as well as we're going through here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this, and yeah, let's hop right into it. JamBox and Newsy, we're doing some set review.
Awesome.
Wonder if it'd be worthwhile to set up a stream that shows replays 24/7. It's funny you say that because I think a couple people have mentioned doing something like that before, SK.
Shozel at one point had a bot that would just watch spectate at all times. Then he would stream it.
All right, for this first game here, I mean, there's not going to be too much to say right now, but I can definitely see a little bit that level 10, and you guys probably warming up for the match too. But kind of like opposite play fields of what both of you had there. I'm just going to keep it rolling, but James was playing with a higher stack there, and Newsy a little bit of the lower thing. That's always something that's kind of hard to delicately balance, because there are moments where playing with a low stack can be pretty safe if your opponent's like struggling to be sending garbage to you. And I do like that if you already have your opponent topped off, or you notice they're struggling to try to clear garbage against you.
Yeah. Of course, we get the colorblind panels because we recorded with my computer.
All good. I actually like to see all the different kind of things that do pop up. I'm gonna mute this on my end, by the way, just so I don't have two sounds clashing here. All right. Newsy buying some clears here. Pretty good job there, honestly. I mean, that's the level 10 creeping up on you, and it's really hard to just keep things going. But I like the approach of what you did there. Continuously at least trying to find those clears to buy yourself some more time, because that's always like you see that very common more and more with people's gameplay too, when they're topped off, instead of just like immediately going up to the top of the board to try to find a clear that gets the garbage done. Find a clear that's close to you first, that buys you a little bit more time to react.
Yeah, I struggle with that a lot. Just like panic going up to the top.
This definitely can be really challenging. You know, it's like, when do you burn panels to try to buy time? And when do you like go for that clear?
Okay. I think in regards to that specific question, I missed what happened here at the end, by the way. Let me check this out really quick. Okay. It looks like you were going for a down stack here. I noticed you did have those yellows lined up in a row there.
I think I had the yellows, and then I was like, "Oh, I got a transition here," but I didn't have any. I didn't have any hole there to make it a transition.
So this is an awkward situation. We'll get to your question in a second, Newsy. I'm gonna talk about what possibly, because this is a situation that comes up many times, where this is like a pseudo factory that's on James' side. It's just, you know, a bunch of separated chain blocks here. Not perfect, but still going to give you like that same kind of factory effect. At this moment here, James has a little bit of a tough spot because he's got this top row here. He's only got this one row to clear to react here, and there's like not too much you can do. You have the empty space on the right here for any potential shoguns, but nothing's really going to line up here. And you just have these yellows here, and I think that's what's going to be your main point. I think I've said this before, moving clears to off to the side is a good way to keep your middle open for options. But in this scenario, I don't think that's too good of an idea, because you only have this one row to react with, and that's a lot of swaps to get it cleared up. Honestly here, as soon as this clears, set lined up with these yellows and just burn this 4 here, because that's going to give you a little bit of health, or a little bit of stop time up here as well. It's not going to be much, But once you do this, then you can focus on these 2 purples up here. And you'll have this column cleared out once you do this 4 combo here. And what's good is you can line this purple right here up with this top left purple up in this furthest left column. And then once you have the space here, you can just drop down any panel that's down here in this column. And then this purple will drop down 1. And that's how you got your 3 in a row that's up here. So just like, I do like what you had here, because I think you had a really good idea of group these colors together and then you'll be able to find something. Just in this situation alone, it was a little bit awkward to deal with, especially trying to figure out how a yellow connect could happen with this top one. But if you can notice 2 groups of colors here, especially these ones on the end, you line up this column here. I think that purple move here is a really good idea. So clear these yellows, drop down this, and then get that vertical purple, and then you got plenty of time to try to build back up and take on this next garbage.
Yeah, I think I saw the yellows, and I was like, sweet. And then I saw the diamonds. I was like, okay, I need to use those. And then I just didn't. I should have waited to match the +4 right at the last second, and then go straight to the diamonds.
Okay, now this might be kind of a noob question, but is the reason that he didn't have any shake time because that 4 was on the top?
Let's take a look. Yeah, pretty much. He got a little bit of shake, but since after the garbage stopped clearing, once that 1-4 combo just fell, yeah, that was the only shake present on the screen, so he had the least amount of shake possible when it fell. So that's why James had like hardly any time to react there at the bottom.
Yeah, it's not obvious, but the way shake time works is it's the topmost garbage that's still on screen.
Ah, okay.
So even though there's these fat chains that are falling, they don't count as the shake because there's the little one on top.
I did notice SK's question a little bit late here, and I think James already talked about it a little bit, but is this an official tile set in game? I guess there's really no official tile set besides the ones bundled with it, but is this one that's available to download on like the public sheet, James?
Yeah, this is downloadable if you go to the Discord in the graphics chat.
Cool. So while this game's going on, you did ask that question before, Newsy, where you asked, I'm not sure when is the best time I should be clearing garbage or when I should be burning some clears to try to make sure I'm alive. And
Yes.
I don't know. That's a tough one to ask, but there's a good way to approach it to kind of set yourself up for success. Being once you play this game more and more, just usually having at least a half stack of panels is always a pretty good way to go. And I almost always try to have a clear lined up towards the top of your board, even if it's not touching a garbage block. Now, if you... What's the best way to phrase this? It depends kind of where your cursor is, too. Like, if you got a clear lined up at the top of the board and you're waiting for garbage to clear, you should be trying to set up things on the other side of your board, too, so you're just putting more and more options as possible. It really comes down to if you have a clear that's kind of present at the top but not quite touching the garbage, then you can try to elect to do clears in other places on your board that hopefully doesn't interrupt that top clear, and then you'll be able to eventually downstack it and do that. I don't know. I'll try to keep a look on different things here, and I have this pause because maybe we have a situation with JamBox's side that we can maybe see if there was a specific order to go for here. There's a couple clears here. This one was a little bit awkward. This was kind of just like nothing at the top here.
Going for a catch there, I think.
Were you? Okay.
Or not a catch, a grounded catch, I guess that's what it's called.
Oh, this. Gotcha. Yes. Okay. Well, as a person who does like style, and this is a for fun match anyway, so it probably doesn't matter too much. Most of the time, these probably aren't good ideas to do though, even though they are fun. But it's like if you do mess it up a little bit, even though you did have enough time for the clear, so I don't think in this situation it was too bad. But it's like you do see the clears here, and it's like figuring out you committed to the green. It's like, all right, what if I do get this ground and catch? What's my play after this? Because you get rid of these X's on in the middle there, and then your board's kind of a little bit separated. So I think you can go with this play. And then something here, if you wanted to do more burn cleaning, because this is the first thing that pops up in my mind. While this is clearing, you can drop this this red on the left side here in the middle. Just do a little bit of an insert, and then the blues are also buying you more time. And then you got options here. Maybe you can drop these reds over to the right, do some down stacking, and eventually your blues are going to be your clear on the garbage.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different ways to approach that, but this goes back a little bit to your question, Newsy, to where sometimes you do just have to clear a whole bunch of stuff. I just try to, in my mind, if something's not immediately touching here at the top and I'm feeling a little bit panicked, I won't mind burning out a whole bunch of things on my screen just to make sure I know I have that in my head. So, like, something like this for me, I might have even burned like 2 or 3 more clears after this until I got to the top. Because, like, trying to downstack here by itself would have been miserable. Because you would have had to do, like, 5 or 6 swaps to try to get these reds to line up. But, yeah. If it's looking a little bit awkward for you, like, you get this... Maybe you get this grounded catch and you get that more stop time to react to do something else. But just in case, like, it misses... Or you even hit it late like that... I guess it's just finding that next option here. Though maybe it looked like you had a miss swap there at the bottom because it looks like you were trying to react and get to those reds. Oh, yeah. I think it looks like your cursor just went to the left there at the end. That just might have been unfortunate death there, honestly. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these might not have, like, might not have thought of it through very well because at this level it's like just struggling to find any match, let alone like figuring out which one's the right one.
I feel like it just takes some time with this game too. There are people who can come out of the woodworks and be really, really good too, but I feel like there's so many little things. Question for you both. I'll start with Newsy first. It'll just be the same question, but how easy is it for you to find like colors grouped up in the sense that let's look at James' board. In your mind when you're looking at this, can you distinguish the colors pretty easily? Like if you're looking at a red and want to find red clears, do all the reds on the board stick out to you, or does your like vision kind of limit you to just like a group and you kind of neglect the others? I guess that's what I'm kind of
I
asking.
do feel like absolutely, Forky. I feel like I am still in the stage where my vision is probably like, you know, 10 panel radius, I guess I would say. So, like, just the small groupings is kind of what I'm looking at, and sometimes it's hard for me to see a little bit wider. So that's something that I'm still working on developing. Um, but it's it's definitely easier on 8 than when I'm on
Oh,
10. There's just
yeah,
so much
especially when a
pressure.
new color is added to it, makes it even harder. How about for you, James?
Yeah, I would say like I see probably like all the colors that are in the general area, but like I'm not going to see them across the board.
Gotcha. I feel like something that happened to me, and I think speedrunning helped a lot with this, but I think just playing the game in general, kind of did that. Anytime I'm setting up a chain, let me see if I can find a good kind of setup. I think you're going for these blues. Immediately, once I see these blues here, I kind of focus on whatever I think my next link will be here. And so, for instance, I guess the way my vision works, I see these greens here because these were all kind of clumped here. I'll
Yeah.
be on my way to get to those, but after that, I just like lock onto another color and I'll notice the yellows up here and I just see like only the yellows kind of at that point on my board, like all across the screen. So I can
Mhm.
notice like moving things like this. I feel like it's hard to say how to improve board vision like this, but trying to get your mind open and I feel like focusing on specific colors, if you can get like just one color group focused here, I think your chains get a little bit bigger in the long run here and you can find more options. But it's I don't know, that's like a really awkward one to try to say. Board vision's like totally different for most people. I think for the most part here, you guys have some pretty good board vision though, because you've shown abilities to get a lot of combos and chains, especially for this match. I mean, it went on 2 minutes, and just looking here, you guys found plenty of fours, fives, and sixes alike. Not going for too many big chains. So is that? I'll start with Newsy again here. It seems like neither person's been going for big chains here at the beginning. Is that on purpose, or you think it's just really hard to extend those chains out longer?
Uh, I feel like for me personally, like, um, I have had to basically play on the endless mode and just work, drill into my head like openers because it's really tough not to get super nervous at the beginning of the match and feel kind of overwhelmed with all the panels and what to do.
Uh huh.
Um, so that's honestly that's kind of where I'm at, and that's kind of why some of my chains aren't as large um, at this particular stage.
Gotcha. And how about for you, James?
Yeah, I've like when I grew up playing this game, we mostly did lots of garbage chaining back and forth and stuff, and we never like made that big of chains. Um, and then I started realizing at the end of level 8, and now that I'm going into level 10, that like I vertically chain way too much and didn't really know about horizontal changing as
Oh,
much.
okay.
And I've been like working on that the last 4 months or something like that. But sometimes I get in like the groove and the um the panels are already on top of each other to the point where it's like, oh, you can just set up the next chain, the next chain, the next chain horizontally. And then sometimes I'm like, I cannot figure out how to keep this chain extended horizontally. So it's
Gotcha.
interesting.
Yeah, it's tough. I feel like pattern recognition's such a big thing too to see. Like you'll recognize like when you start doing a bunch of chains, I feel like there's certain ways to set up that you as a player will prefer, and slowly
Hmm.
but surely you find more and more patterns that you like to do. I feel like that's like another with time thing here. I paused here because I'm sure you know this already, but you were trying to fit in a clear or a drop with that purple there with very little time, when dropping the top purple's a better option because you could let it sit at the top here. Anytime forcing like movements like this though, I would try to get bad habits out like this because it's easy to try to look and do down stacking like this because I've fallen victim to it a lot. But I think this is a frame perfect drop you have to get here. It might not look like it, but yeah, you have no stop time, just that one frame of health already here. All the garbage has fallen. And after this clear, yeah, you have to be perfect with that swap or else it ends with a death. When either the blue down here could be a better option just to buy you some more time. You could even like swap this blue, move this X over here too, and drop it down. And then eventually just drop this purple down, and all of a sudden you get that vertical 3 that's happening over here. But yeah, it's tough to say. Don't uh with I don't know how I'm trying to describe this. Just be careful with things that look like they have a chance to work, but it's a very tight execution window for it to happen.
Yeah, I think this goes more to just the same thing where I'm like trying to down stack because I haven't figured out what else to do, and should be like looking for a chain or looking for a combo to give me some stop time.
Mm-hmm. Do either of you prefer doing a style of attacking on one another? Do you like doing combo storms? Do you like doing factory, or is it literally just send what you can?
I mean, if I could choose, I would just send like giant shades at the beginning, but I wish I was better at it.
Okay.
Yeah, agreed. Same for me. I think it can be kind of tough at the beginning of the match.
Okay.
Like that example there I did like a really nice chain, and I was just like in the
Yeah,
group.
that was gigantic.
Yes, I will fully advocate for doing things like this at that elo. I think openers can be really crucial, especially at this level of play to win matches, especially in level 10. So I know Newsy said it might be a little overwhelming. There's so many options at the beginning for openers. Do you feel that way too, JamBox, or is it like sometimes do you feel like you have a problem finding panels, or maybe the speed to get there? What do you think you struggle with the most?
I think for my opener, usually what happens is I look for like a vertical and that can go into horizontal. And then ideally, I would like just keep horizontally going. But usually, what happens is I find a vertical and then I can't find a horizontal. And so then I just go more vertical. And then I might not find a horizontal there. And then I have these giant holes in my stack, and it's tall and it's raised a lot because it's level 10.
You know what's something I'd recommend for something like that too, because I still do things like that all the time, is if you think towards the tail end of your chain, if it's hard to find something, or the next link you're going to do seems like it'd be a lot of effort and it might not happen, you can start to prep to look at somewhere else on your board to maybe just start up an immediate chain afterward. Maybe even if it's just like a 2 or 3 chain or a bigger combo, so it helps take out one of those other stacks that might give you trouble later. And you do that even before the garbage stops dropping, so you have like plenty more time to react. I've done like plenty of attacks at the beginning. If my chain got cut short a little bit, or I notice that I'm going to have potential trouble with let's say I start my chain in the middle and I have both pillars on 2 sides, kind of like on Newsy's board right here. Let's just say the chain ends here. I could maybe, instead of trying to look over here and extend this out, I go ahead and start looking at these X's over here and get it in right before this chain ends, and then the stack drops on the right side and my field's looking a little bit more even. And it's just like buying me more time overall. So I kind of like the idea of having just having more options in general, no matter what. Like it can be really tough, especially on 10, because the pace is so fast, so it's hard to keep up. But really training your brain and just setting yourself up for success to have multiple options always available is a good idea.
Well, for example, like right here, I have a hard time coming up with a new chain quickly, like coming up with one fast. Like when that clear happens over here on the left or on Newsy's side, like right here, where would I start the next chain? Like what do you think is the best option?
All right. On Newsy's side, is that where we're looking at?
Yeah, Newsy's, like it looks like maybe the X's can do something.
Okay. So yeah, she's doing her chain. Nice ground and catch, by the way, there too. I think this is where that vision comes in hand too. I would say maybe the X is here at the bottom too. But anything that's pretty close here, I would probably go for these X's at the bottom right. And then if you had time to drag this blue down, that's a little bit of a hard one too. That would take 5 swaps to get it down there. But anything to lower this.
That's what I saw too, but it's that's gonna take a lot of swaps.
It does. Sometimes
that's what's so tough. It's I understand Forky, you've played thousands and thousands. So exactly, that how much time things are going to take, so you kind of have that judgment. But when you're just starting out, it's you know, it's kind of tough to be able to formulate that judgment as to,
Hmm.
do I have enough time to do this or not?
I guess it really comes down to setting up things before this too, because even at this point for uh top level players, it's gonna be hard to like try to figure out what to do. Like
Mhm.
you could look up. Let's go back a little bit leading up to this. You get this clear here, Newsy, and at
Mhm.
this point, getting clears and even when it's a lot of clear time, take advantage of that. So right here, when this happens, my first instinct is there's a lot of purples on your board. There's a couple of those blues as well. I want to try to even my stack first off, and try to have a blue in this column and a purple. So I might downstack
Okay.
this yellow and this purple on the left here first, and then maybe drop this purple and this blue, and all of a sudden we have like a pretty even stack up to here with these two guys poking out. And that
Okay.
way you have options. You got like a good, what is that, probably like probably close to 50% chance that something lines up, a blue or a purple up here. In which case, it did. It would have been a little bit awkward. But just you having that stack a little bit flattened out probably would have led you to more options. You could have burned a purple over here instead, because it probably would have been a much easier clear. But I think
Okay.
maybe looking at stuff beforehand, especially before clears, because you just have so much more time to react and set up things. So you don't get left in situations like this where you have to do a chain here in the middle, and all of a sudden high right stack, this is really hard to down stack. And then at this point, like, I would probably die here too. There's like nothing at the top here. You can't fill in anything. The X's are there. That's like the literally the closest clear you have, and even then it's hard to see that in a pinch. Like, you get the purples there too, but I mean, this was a rough board, and at this specific moment it's hard to dig yourself out. And that's why I'll stress moments like this, probably try to set you up something better here. Even if it's not something up top here too, here's something else I might opt for instead. With these X's down here, you can move this guy all the way over here, move that guy here, and then move him there. You got a 4 combo set up here, which will help you with one of your pillar situations. And once this clears, you could do that, buy yourself more time, and then figure it out. Like, you'll have 2 panels fall here if you didn't touch anything over here, and all of a sudden you can drag this purple over to the right.
Okay. That makes
That
sense.
it's hard to say too, because like you mentioned, Newsy, I have a lot of experience with this game and seeing different patterns and things like that too. I think really just like experiment around, and if it looks like something works with you, go for it. If you want to try out something new that feels like it's comfortable with your game plan, to do it. I think that's the big thing right now I'm recommending, is make sure you just have a lot of clears available. And especially like you did a good job down stacking there still too, and you were setting up that chain, which was nice. But like, even just this little second of hesitation there too, uh don't worry about reacting to what the garbage that's falling is going to be. Take your time to set up things at the bottom of your board, so you just have more options there too. That's a big thing. Just set yourself up for success pretty much.
Thank you, Forky. Yeah, that's a really good point. Because it can be really tough from a newbie's perspective to not get hyper fixated on what's going on with the panels that are touching the garbage. When
Mhm.
you have an entire board of panels underneath the garbage, that there's options, but it's like, oh, I'm just looking at what's going on with what's by the garbage.
I can't tell you how many times I've been, even to this day, focused on one spot at the board, and I end up not having it clear in enough time, and I die. And I look at my board afterward and I see like a second tier that's in one swap away from being 3 in a row, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. So it definitely don't feel discouraged, because it does happen for us, but
Even Forky does it, you
I
guys.
do it too much still. I can't tell you how many times I die in 10 seconds, even in tournament matches.
So Forky on this one with my opening, can you go back a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Um, Still see, I do like a semi okay chain here, and then immediately I just like, well, I guess I do a 4 and a 2, and then like here I just downstack everything and then raise. Is that bad?
I think it's not terrible because the level that you're playing with, this is still pretty good because you sent a pretty solid opener too, so you know how much you sent. Honestly, are you comfortable with playing with mid to high stack? Because that's the real thing that a
I
lot of
mean,
people might struggle with.
I think we got to get to that point, right? Like, there's no point in avoiding that because you need to get there at some point.
So what I like to do after you do this here, uh,
Hmm.
it first off, notice what your opponent's done to you. In which case, it's nothing here. So I like the idea of setting out this yellow here. But before you clear it, I would probably raise my stack maybe once, even twice, so that way you have more options here. I don't
Hmm.
mind you doing this though, because you have noticed you haven't been topped off yet either. So after you do the second quick one, I would approve of this. But this is maybe where before down stacking here, maybe raise your stack up a little bit before this garbage falls. I don't know. It's hard to say because you don't want to like leave yourself with no no matches immediately because there was like nothing in this left side here. But if you
So,
notice that your opponent hasn't sent enough too, you can be more aggressive with this raises. But otherwise, I don't think this was a bad opening by any means. I mean, you sent a lot here, and you were able to raise at the end there too. I mean, in
yeah, I guess
general,
more of the thing I'm just worried about is like when I do that kind of down stacking without even thinking about which order I should down stack. It's just like get all these things down.
I feel that, yeah. I mean, in
And I don't
general,
know.
both of you do raise your stack here at the beginning, I believe. Maybe not. Newsy's time just rose a lot for her. Do you feel comfortable raising your stack at the beginning, Newsy, or no?
You know, that's definitely a bad habit of mine is that I play really low stack. Um, and I know that I don't have as many opportunities because I'm doing that. But honestly, I guess I'm getting nervous that I don't necessarily have a clear. So like, I mean, should you raise when you don't have a clear, or should that only be something after you have secured your clear?
I think if you. It depends a little bit on how much your opponent has sent to you, too. Like, if it looks like they're struggling a little bit on your opener, yeah, you can probably raise it without your clear. If you're a little bit worried about the garbage they're going to send you, you can pre-set up for that thing at the top there too. I think either way is a fine option to go for it.
Okay.
Here's another one where this was kind of what I pointed out on James' side here earlier too, is the garbage had already dropped before you made this clear. So even though it was like a decent amount of shake time that falls from this garbage block here, it's still going to be uh going away at the same time as this clear. So your clear didn't really add anything to the shake here at the top. So here's two options you could do here. I mean, this would have been pretty hard to react to. I think you were trying to get this clear a little bit earlier before the garbage dropped. But you could wait before doing this clear because this is when the garbage drops right there. That was so tight though. I don't know if you'd been able to react to that. You could have anticipated it. You could have just took a second to breathe right here because I think you were
Hmm.
just at this point you were trying to just find a clear at the top here, trying to get down everything as quick as possible. At this point right here, you could take a second to breathe, try to analyze the board a little bit more, hold off this blue clear here, and then you notice you have the greens here at the right, I believe, and you were trying to downstack this yellow, but the problem was you had just no more time to do it. This would have had to been also like a frame perfect double swap to get that yellow down. When it'll be something I think probably I'll already point out to you, Newsy, to work on a little bit more for the most part is just that board vision again. Try
Yeah,
to keep your
absolutely.
eyes open here because you got these reds easily accessible over here too that won't interrupt you. So I think the good play here is prep these reds while this is clearing. Right before the blues animation is completely done, you clear these reds, plenty of time to downstack that yellow, and then you got enough time for those greens to actually touch the garbage and do it. But I feel like just something, yeah, to practice with there. It's really tough because there's so many things, especially with like how new you are to the community. So you've improved a lot, but it's like I imagine it's still pretty overwhelming for you to like do certain things in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually these tips are really helpful because it's honestly it's kind of like it's tough for me, I guess, at my newish level to be able to like not panic. So
It's
that's what I'm
tough.
working
It's
on
tough.
is just not panicking.
All right. I mean, you guys have such a good understanding for the game still, though, I can tell. It's kind of like you both know what to do or have options of what could be there, but it's like level 10 is just that mean and won't let you guys
Yeah.
get there. That's kind of the way I see it right now.
I mean, it takes a long time to learn. So you basically kind of have to relearn the game on level 10 because it's like all these things you were doing that kind of worked before, now that it's not viable anymore.
Yes.
100% agree.
Yes.
And don't feel bad.
So much
Like,
yes.
I always point this out too. 10 does take a while, and I'm glad you guys know that. Always know that even like some of the best players in the world, like obviously the community is a lot better now, but we had like top players playing on level 8 in like 2018 and still for tournaments. And a lot of us, including myself, were really stubborn to move on to level 10 and struggled for a while when we did. It is a whole different beast.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's funny too because like some games you'll just be on it, and other games it's like I can't find anything.
Yes.
Let's see, I'm trying to look at what could be here because you have a point where you just cleared a whole bunch of garbage here. You don't have a lot of panels, but this will be something like I pointed out earlier too. Whenever you get situations where it's all this garbage that has to clear, even if it's a little things like this, try to optimize as much as you can at the bottom here. Which you don't have much. You get the blues lined up here, and I like honestly, since it's really hard to predict how things fall, especially with a gap here, a little panel coming out here, I wouldn't worry too much on how things are falling here. But one thing I probably would have done was I mentioned this in the Voodoo versus Kitty set to where I really like these outside clears. You can also move these two blues over to the right here, though I do see a chain that's falling into place as well there. But move these two blues off to the left. Move this X just pretty much anywhere but this one, because then you have a blue that will bail you out on the left side here too if something were to happen that's like really weird with everything falling here. Because I think like, yeah, I think that's a big thing is like a whole bunch of stuff just fell there, and that's something that's like out of your control if you either don't notice these yellows falling into place here, or if just this gap and this X just mess up something and make a random chain up here, it's really hard to react. And that's why I like the idea of having these blues down here to where you got time not only for this would have fell into place, you would have had your blues down here. You could take some time, scan maybe this little middle part, the top part, see if you have an immediate clear, which you did with the blues. And then while you find that, then that's when you can do this next clear at the bottom to buy yourself that more time to get to the blues. Because I think it was just that little bit of a. I think this yellow probably threw you off because you didn't see it coming. Or maybe I'm wrong with that. Hold on. I think regardless, I think you did see those greens. But even then, it was like. It was really hard because James was really good with this combo barrage right up here. I just always like controlling clears on my own time instead of trying to get one last second because you already know it's like panic mode at that point. I need to get a clear or else I lose. And just having a clear prepped at the bottom, like I said, potentially with these blues, just gives you that extra time so you can scan and know that you have a clear that's within reach to eventually get to clearing your garbage, if that makes sense.
No, that totally makes sense. And it's just like it's a whole perspective shift for me to think about um you know, chaining as buying time instead of as being offense
Mm-hmm.
entirely. You know, so
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm
it's
trying to
super
figure out
weird.
right now.
Yeah, level 10 defense just becomes so much more important too, which I won't give like I'll give you those tips basically about opening your vision to allow you to find those clears to survive, but it's I guess technically still not the biggest thing here to work with cuz I always recommend just trying to find attacks here. And I'll look at your side a little bit here again, Newsy, that might help you out. Because you're in this situation. I remember you said, when should I know to raise my stack here? And at this point, JamBox has nothing sent to you. It looks like you do this clear and you're building up another chain here, potentially at the bottom. I think right here, right at this moment, after you flatten your stack, I think you should do you play with audio on first off? I should ask that. Can you hear your opponent's attacks as they're happening?
Yes.
Okay. I think being able to recognize what your opponent's doing is such an important thing. I think as soon as you're at this point and you kind of hear a chains being built up, perfect opportunity to raise your stack like 3 or 4 spots because you have your yellows lined up. There's no real worry there. You're going to give yourself so much more to work with at the bottom. And you can time your clear as JamBox's next chain falls here. And you can just buy it. You can look at the bottom of your screen after that and find some clears set up for a chain to happen here at the top. I mean, it ends up working out with you here too, but I feel like it would be something to recognize just when your opponent hasn't sent you too much and you have a low stack, feel free to rise it up and give yourself more options. And there was a situation kind of not so much on your side there too, JamBox, but I feel like at this very moment, I probably would have raised as soon as I saw this blue coming. Maybe you'd only get enough time to raise it up one. But even that one line maybe will give you just a little bit more ammunition.
Yeah, I definitely struggle in the middle with raising.
And then
It's counterintuitive, right, Forky? Because it's like, why would I raise up my stack closer to getting topped out, aka death? But I understand, it makes sense when you're thinking about, having ammunition to even attack or even defend against these things. But,
mhm.
it feels very counterintuitive.
It's tough. And as Dylon said in chat, even seeing the telegraph, I look at it maybe a little bit from time to time. I don't know how much you guys use telegraph as well when trying to do it. I mostly just use sounds to try to keep an eye at the opponents screaming a lot that I know I'm probably in trouble. But that's one thing here. And I think I know a little bit of what you're seeing here, JamBox, with the you said you've been trying to get your horizontal game a little bit better here. And I think you were probably just panicked at the bottom here, but that green swap was just one away, which led to a red, potentially those X's all coming together there too. I think it's like, from what I'm seeing right now at you guys' level, I think it's just opening your idea to getting more unique clears along the board. It's really hard to say, but I feel like there's always options there, but with how pressured you are, maybe it's really hard for you to find what to do next without dying.
Yeah, I think it's just the time. Like you get so focused on one color or whatever because you're just so rushed for time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
But honestly, I mean, pretty good stuff that I've seen so far from both of you. Like I'm always really impressed with how almost all skill levels in this game nowadays show like really great fundamentals. Like I couldn't fathom a majority of the player base not only playing level 10 but able to do, you know, 3-4 chains pretty consistently and being able to compete for longer matches on 10. I could not do that probably even 5 years ago, honestly. I would struggle to get any kind of chain going. On higher levels, that is. Here's something I'll point out, which it's not you're not in immediate danger, but I think this is a really good habit to go for. How often do you utilize second tier clears, JamBox?
Uh, I mean, I try to, but sometimes I just miss.
That's fair. I mean, obviously that one's staring you in the face right now, but anytime you have panels, even if you can just glance for a second to see if there is a clear there, always be wary. Here's something I would like. This clear is fine down here. You're taking the time for it. What I like to do is chain these clears together pretty much. So after you hit these yellows, get those purples ready, and right before this bottom garbage starts clearing, you can get those purples already lined up. And that top stack is clearing beforehand.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, it's not going to be too much for you here anyways, because you have the time to do some down stacking. Well, I guess it did inevitably lead to a death there at the beginning. But I just like pointing this out in general, because this pattern will come up a lot. Sometimes you just have one line up here, and sometimes it happens to be 3 of the same color. And clearing the bottom, then clearing the top slightly later, giving you that little bit extra time to react, because like this bottom clear will have happened and fallen, so you can set up something right afterward. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, comboing that with the thing you were saying in the previous set review, where like if someone sends combos your way and they don't quite top you out yet, like if you hold your clear until you get more garbage, then you have more stuff in your second tier, which makes that way even more important.
I'm glad you saw that, because I was gonna mention something a little bit, and I don't know if how much you saw, if you did see the last one, Newsy, but if you don't know what JamBox is talking about, I'll show you that in a second when I see an appropriate setup for it coming up.
As far as those clears, it can be kind of tough for me to see the second tier still. That's something I'm still working on.
It's tough. Yeah, I think yeah, specifically for you, Newsy, I think I mean, this game's just so hard to like try to get that vision for, and it just comes with time. But I feel like you'll be doing so much better when you're able to see a lot more of the board and have more options for it. But you're still doing a good job even outside of that. Like it may sound like harsh criticism, but you're doing really good in the first place for it. But if you are able to unlock just that little bit more, that's how it gets even better.
Full disclosure to the lovely Twitch community here, nothing that Forky says is harsh criticism. He's a very patient teacher, so I do appreciate these tips for sure.
I got to give you some props here too, JamBox, because you did a great job linking 3 clears in a row here and being able to find that more time. I think it's just being able to find what to do next here, because you did have another clear in mind there too.
I see the 4 that you were thinking of, but I guess there wasn't enough time for it, huh?
I'm trying to think what's like the best way to approach this for the future, because it's like you are getting these clears, but it's still leaving you with these 2 panels at the same time. But
I mean, first of all, I cleared the garbage before I needed to.
That is true. I guess like being patient too, especially if you are noticing your opponent sending a chain here. Feel free to take a breather sometimes. I'm glad you pointed that out, and wait a second, because that garbage falls and it gives you even more clear time to react. That is one way to approach it. I don't think this is necessarily incorrect decision though. I'm totally for that. At this point, it's just like single clears are nice and they'll buy you time. Maybe find a way to make a chain instead here as well, because it'll actually give you some stop time instead of just the additional clear time that's happening. Otherwise,
yeah, I had like 4 chances for a chain there. Instead, I just kept doing single clears.
So it's like I don't want to tell you not to do single clears, because I think it's great to learn, but maybe it can be a bad thing when it's like really excessive like this and you use up the middle of your board. I think finding, if you saw the reds there instead to link to a green chain that would link to the bottom purples there in the future too, that could be a good idea. Also, maybe opening up your vision to look at the left side of this board too and getting these yellows really quick. Here's something that I like to do too with a group cluster like this, and you have this right side. After this happens, after this red clear, go to these yellows, drop it down, swap it really quick, and before this one falls, this top purple, it'll be right here where this yellow is. Swap it to the right, so you'll have essentially a purple there, a purple here, and a purple there, with tons of space around it, to where this is where you potentially want to set up where your clear is going to touch this garbage at the top. You'll still have this pillar, but you buying this time over here, maybe you'll have enough time to hit that 4. 4 panels will drop right here, and all of a sudden this purple is now the one that's touching the garbage here at the top. That's kind of like it's a hard solve too. It's like you just got to tell your brain to be looking for kind of patterns like this. I like something like this where you notice these 2 purples are going to be at top here and you have tons of space around, and you move them on top of each other instead of letting this purple fall in the hole. Because that's something you could do too if you were just panicked trying to find a yellow clear, and then maybe you peer back over to the right side, then your purple drops, and it'll still be 3 in a row, but that's like a much cleaner one to get to later on. So that's an idea to look at in the future. I think this was just a pretty awkward situation at first too, and I got to give you props on at least doing the clears to buy yourself time, because I think having the idea to do those is really good. And then once your just general skill improves, you already have that like skill in your back pocket, and it'll only help your game even more. So I do like your approach there. It's just really awkward to try to find a way to dig yourself out of that.
So like here, this opener.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say this opener here, like I didn't find anything, and then I did a vertical, and then I had nothing.
All right, let's see. Did the vertical, did the chain, had nothing. Did some down stacking. Did another chain.
Did another vertical chain.
I see
Did
that.
another
Yeah.
4. Did another 4.
Yeah, I guess maybe just practicing. Just what's, because this is kind of something I had problem with too. I really used to be well, I'm still kind of about it, but I used to have a really big trouble on just implementing bigger combos in general. So I mean, you had plenty of stuff here. You were opting to go for force here too. Noticing a little bit of patterns, kind of like what you had set up right here. You dropped this down, and I think
Yeah.
maybe the blues weren't in your eyes at that time, but that's one swap away from being a 6, which will turn into a 7 because this blue down there also exists.
Yeah, it's funny, like when I review these things, it's like obvious, like there's a six right
Uh-huh.
there. But it's like I don't know what about
Honestly, doing some casual matches, and even if you're like not doing a game plan to actually win and like focusing on just finding these specific things, I think they can
Mhm.
just help you in general. Even though you're gonna like tank that set in general, it might help your skill in the long run. Because like I'll go back to doing speedrunning again, which has helped me with a lot of like specific things too. The speedrun for solo modes, specifically for Tetris Attack, is pretty much like a garbage spam mode, to where you'll do like a 4 or 5 chain at the most, but you're trying to weave in 5 and 6 combos a lot into your chain, since they stack real nicely at the top. And since that mode, you're not really worrying about survival there. It's like just onslaught of garbage. You could kind of transfer that over to doing practice matches like this and not worrying about living. You might die, but then your vision might get better for finding more combos weaved into your chain, or just general ideas of how to send more garbage. And then once you get that, you can implement it back into your game plan of actually like surviving after your opponent sends some stuff to you.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't know, it's tough. Like finding ideas to send certain things is very tough. I will I'll once again, this is something I'll put you out of your comfort zone here, Newsy, which you did it a little
Yes.
bit there. You could have done it here as well, which I would have probably done it right here, just stop right before the clear, or right here. Raise it a bunch. Raise that sucker like up there even, maybe 3 spots away. Give yourself a bunch of panels down here. Because then all of a sudden you're going to have a lot that you can potentially chain on here at the bottom too. And that's just what's going to generally improve you guys' attacks at this elo. Because a majority of the matches, both of you are probably not topped off. And then most of the time when your opponent gets topped off, you're getting the win. So I can't stress enough how important it is to get attacks off, which raising your stack like that might help a little bit, which you ended up doing it after that one clear. I believe it was like right here you raised it up twice, but I would have done probably 5 or 6 times, honestly.
Okay. Raise
But
it more.
yeah, I do like raising stacks a lot. That's what I'll tell you a lot. And sometimes it can lead to like, if you raise your stack a lot and at the very beginning of the match, let's say, and unfortunately you drop your chain and your opponent just sent you 2 quick combos and you die, that'll happen. Honestly, it hurts when things like that happen, because that happens all the time to me. But I just feel like it opens so many more opportunities, and not only is it going to give you more practice on the board just to see those kind of things, it's going to usually lead up to more garbage being sent too.
That makes sense, actually.
Was this
And it's tough when you're under a lot of pressure too. But what I wanted to ask you, Forky, really quick is,
sure?
you know, when you are playing, are you looking at the board and thinking like, okay, this is the strategic method, or is it kind of just like, your unconscious and what you've been practicing just kind of comes out naturally? Because I'm wondering, like, if I'm practicing these good habits, or is this something that, like, while I'm in the actual game, these are decisions that I'm making?
I think it's hard to say. I think I'm definitely like, it's weird to say, but my brain's kind of turned off usually when I'm playing, because I've noticed so many situations here to where it just becomes like I scan and see what's there and things pop up. I don't know. It's like you don't want to overthink stuff, because when you like put more brain power into it, supposedly, then you might start overthinking things. I don't know. Like here, let's do something like this. I think this will be fun. Uh, I'm gonna bring up panel attack here. It's gonna look weird. Uh, on you guys' screen, but on stream I should be able to make it full screen. But just focus here on the middle for Newsy and James on your screen share. I'll hop in and I'll kind of walk you through a process which is going on my end. I'm gonna just do level 1 so the stack doesn't raise too high. But generally, as soon as I'm starting here, I'll look at what's first sticks out to me, which in this case it was the blues. I'll usually, if there's a close blue in proximity, I'll elect to make it like a combo because it's just gonna add more garbage. And then at this point, I'll immediately, before I even swap this, I'm looking what's up here first. So I got the purple up here. And then it happened that these purples are already in line here at the bottom. So I'm already set. I can probably start working on some other stuff. Probably as soon as I clear these blues, I'm going to be working on trying to see what my third part of the chain is. I'll let you know something, though, because I bet I make a mistake here and not notice these greens are going to fall into place, too, while I'm trying to build something. And that might throw me off, which will happen in chains a little bit. But I'm going to try to show you a little bit of what my brain goes on maybe while I'm playing here. I'm looking at blues. I got greens and reds up here. I'm going to elect to do greens, set up blues at the top here. Purple's going to get into my way because I want to drop this purple into place. I got yellows now available. I got these dark blues here. Greens are already lined up. Put the blues into place and things like that. I'm kind of always looking a step in advance, if that makes sense.
I can't believe you were able to explain that while you were doing it.
We got the yellows coming over here. The dark blues there. Got light blues I could drop in. So I think, again, a lot of this stuff comes with time, but my playstyle specifically, I do a lot of stuff on the fly. And once I have my confirmed clear already in place, I'm already looking ahead to what the next one could be. So like if I'm going for these horizontal reds at the bottom, before I even clear them, I'm looking, hey, I could do these purples or these dark blues for my next clear. And then maybe these light blues, these dark blues here. And it's just a whole bunch of chain reaction. I got the greens that'll line up into place. I already got these light blues lined up. Things like that.
Crazy.
Advanced level strats. Quirky strats, if you will.
So
I'm not surprised though, because you've been playing this game how long?
Yeah, I'm always a different exception. Like if it looks like, I always tell people, if they compliment me, I always appreciate it because I'm like, thank you. But I'm like, don't feel discouraged because I'm the guy who's maybe played this game longer than anyone, honestly.
And they say like that's the progression of something, right? Like if you think about driving a car, you start like you're freaked out about pressing every single button, and then you get to the point where you can think about driving a car but do it, and then you get to the point where you don't really have to think about driving a car, and like you said, you just shut your brain off and you're driving the car.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think that's a pretty good analogy there. It's kind of just how it is. I would say you'll begin to recognize things, especially what you like to do. Like I'm someone who likes to do inserts a lot, and I feel pretty comfortable for the most part doing it. And then I'll just find ways to extend it out that feels natural to me. Missed the grounded catch there, but that's how it is. Let's bring back up the other screen now. What was the whole point of this? Like, you asked...
I was just asking about your thought process, like whether or not you're making like strategic decisions or whether it's just kind of like your unconscious that comes out and is making these decisions like after a result of practice.
I think practice is so big. I'm actually going to bring this up again. I think practice is very important, which is going to help lead to a lot of these things like this. Honestly, this might be another way to approach it, because I said I do a lot of things on the go, But for someone like JamBox specifically too, this could help a lot too, because you say you like to do verticals a lot. If you're having trouble and it seems like your chains are dropping a lot, feel free to take the time even before you're clear. You do not have to force that clear, and just like get you a chain that's already lined up here at the bottom. Something like this. I have everything lined up here. I'm not doing any kind of swaps here. And that's like a free 4 chain with you plenty of time like afterward to even extend something at the end there. And with level 10, that can be a little bit threatening because the stack speed is a little bit faster. But I think that still can apply here. Like you can have these greens already lined up. And then you're like, all right, I can have these dark blues fall into place here too. And then as soon as I pop these, then I can look at what the next link of my chain can be and start building that. Just like, don't rush yourself. It sounds stupid because it's level 10, but sometimes just know where you're at first off, what your opponents sent to you, so you don't have to like, if you're not pressured, especially at the beginning, you don't have to rush your opener. Because if you, let's say, we're starting out here, let's say I didn't even give myself a chance to raise the stack. Like, kind of like, Newsy, you like doing the 2 stacks here. Let's do a 2 stack attack. I'm like kind of already out of options here. But at the beginning, because you know your opponent's not going to be sending a lot to you at the beginning, even like evening your stack out at the beginning is not a bad strat too. I kind of like getting stuff out immediately. But prep this stack on level 10 while your stack's even raising. This is a little bit of an awkward one. And then wait a little bit, and then you got options that are going to fall into place. If your chain drops, look for something else instead. You got something there, you know that one's going to drop. Look for these blues now instead. Maybe make it clear, you know that's going to drop. Now I got these yellows lined up. And then you got enough time to do a down stack here and get even again.
Is there like a puzzle set that helps you with this, or do you practice on endless or one versus self, or what's the strategy?
I'm sure there's puzzle sets that exist. I'm definitely not the person to ask about that, but I've thought about making some stuff to help combo recognition in the future, and I should really get on that in the future when I do that. But I think for general practice, it's hard to say. I did speedrunning a lot, so it was like a good motivator for me getting better times. It generally just helped my board vision. And I think that's like a pretty social thing, honestly, specifically for you, Newsy, because James, I already know you've done like speedrunning things in the past. But if you're ever looking for stream content for your personal stream, doing like Tetris Attack Hard, V Hard, even Pokemon Puzzle League V Hard, S Hard, even with like how RNG it is, I think having a fun atmosphere and still like trying to learn and recognize patterns, and those will be on like slower speeds. So I think it won't like train you for level 10 specifically, but I think it'll help your board vision overall. I really like things like that where it's more fun, because I think marathon helps a lot too, because it's just like a solid grind. But for me personally, I've never been able to focus attention fully to it or enjoy doing it. I don't know. I think it mostly depends on what kind of person you are. But I think marathon is still a great tool to practice. I think speedrunning is a fun, engaging way that's not going to be specific higher level practice, but good board vision. I think combo storm and factory training is pretty good to at least see what you need to do in certain situations, because combo storm will train you to not think, and I think factory teaches you how to rearrange your panels a little bit more. So I think there's a whole bunch of options there. Most of the time, I'll be honest, I just hop into marathon to get warmed up and things like that. But honestly, I would recommend trying some speed runs every once in a while to see if they are down your alley, because I think it's just so engaging. The combo storm and factory, I think, is really good. You just got to be careful with those in a sense too, because I feel like a lot of people practice those way too much, and you get used to that pattern, but then you realize that a player throws different attacks and not the same attack over and over again. I think that's good just for training in certain regards too, but not exactly preparing you for what someone's going to play against you. I don't know. I'd
No, that
say
makes sense.
any of those three are probably good. I mean, there's a whole bunch of options in this game too. You can switch off between them. I'd highly recommend that as well, because like I said, I think each one kind of will train different specific things of your game.
Forky, have you tried the challenge mode thing yet?
I saw that and I have not done it yet. I've been meaning to download it. It's that whole separate client you had, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a separate download right now, but it's eventually going to be basically our version of speedrunning.
That's so exciting.
And then you'll actually be able to speedrun something at a high level, at like a highest panel level.
I'll point this out for you, Newsy. I don't know if this was just a really unfortunate series of bad luck here, because I noticed you were already missing swaps here at the beginning, getting to the screen.
Yeah, this was
But
a
it
rough
looked
one,
like
I'm not
just
gonna lie.
it looked like the purples were unintentional clear here. Maybe you wanted to get the yellows, but you were trying to downstack and those X's accidentally cleared too. I'm gonna chalk this up to just like unfortunate, but here's something like this can be really important to practice too, and that this is a lot of panel swapping management, to where when you have like, you know, these greens are all lined up in vertical columns, the purples, the blues, the yellows, it's really easy to do a swap and accidentally clear something you didn't mean to clear. And so at this point, right when you get a clear here, I would tell myself to slow down. And you have 3 rows here. You could elect to downstack these, and all of a sudden you have purples, blues, yellows, and these pinks all at the top to try to clear the rest of the garbage here. And it looks like, what, you do the purple clear here. Was this unintentional? Were you maybe just trying to get the purples lined up in 2, but maybe didn't notice the bottom one there?
Yes.
Gotcha. Like I said, this is probably just really unfortunate, because I think just a whole bunch of unlucky things happened here. But just, yeah, it's got to be a board vision thing for you, Newsy, honestly. I think that's like the biggest takeaway for me, is like trying to broaden what is around your general play, which is, I think, one of the most difficult things to do in this entire game. But it's going to lead to a lot less incidental clears that I've been seeing on your board, and just a lot better options to bail yourself out, because all that unfortunate stuff just kind of led to that right side being up there, and it was just really hard. Because it even like ruined your blue clear here at the bottom too, which was super unfortunate. Because, yeah,
Sometimes I get topped out, and it's tough not to panic.
you grabbed this blue here at the top at the very last second, when it would have like fell into place and been one swap away, but instead it like separated it up here, and now all of a sudden it's not together anymore.
Yeah, so
that
it's
that is so
painful.
unfortunate. I can relate to that. I know that it's so easy to panic in this game, and there's like honestly not too much you can do in those situations unless you're like GM level, because those guys just have so many ideas in their head at all times.
It's definitely inspiring to watch the GM level as well, to try to get some ideas. But I'm still trying to figure everything out, and kind of just operate in a way that makes sense. But on the other hand, it can be really challenging for, I guess, a new person, to not panic when you get topped out, especially on 10, when it's like there's no health. You know, it's if you are not prepared, it's done. It's over.
Uh-huh. It's really tough. I think yeah, new player coming into the community in general, even all levels are going to be tough to play PvP, and then stepping up to level 10. Yeah, it's just it takes a while. And I'm glad like you two and a lot of people have not been too discouraged, especially like playing higher level people. You both especially have played me a good number of times, and like a bunch of diamond and master level players, and getting good practice like that can help. I would totally recommend checking other people's gameplay and trying to steal elements from them, because I've done that so many times. If I see a cool idea someone's implementing a lot in their gameplay, I see if it works for me, and sometimes it does help a lot. I paused it here because I wanted to give James a compliment to where he was patient. He noticed you were doing a big chain here, Newsy. If he clears here right now, that's cool. He gets the garbage away, but maybe a little bit of an awkward situation here at the top to try to find his next clear. But good patience and awareness. Waited till that next garbage block fell, and then he gets his clear. That is such a good habit to have in this game. I just wanted to say good job on that, James.
That is a tough habit, and definitely great job, James, for catching that. But when you're actually playing and you're waiting, like how long are you supposed to wait? Because sometimes you're looking over there and it's just like, okay, it's times 10. Uh-oh,
Uh,
now it's question mark.
it's
How
like
long am I supposed to wait?
that's hard to say. If you think they're gonna go a long time, it might be worth it to like even like raise your stack a little bit there, so you have more ammunition to do something back. If your
Mhm.
screen's raising too fast here too, let's say like you were going to chain maybe 6 more times, and James's stack was gonna go all the way up and maybe even clear, you can swap panels back and forth to slow your rise speed too. I like to do that every once in a while. It's a good way to like get a breather back as well, so you're like not rushing into it. You can also scan your board and maybe set up other clears. Like, let's say this is going on for a while. Uh, like the thing I mentioned before, setting things off to the sides is a really good habit. So you could move these blues over to the right to set up a 4 combo. Same thing with these yellows. Move this one to the right, but move these two to the left. All of a sudden, you got 2 4 combos on both sides to buy you plenty of time while you're waiting for this garbage to happen. So I think good habit, and then you can take it further by prepping the rest of your board. Because it looks like you had an idea here. Uh, I'm not sure exactly. Maybe just like a misread on the situation here, but
Mhm.
Yeah,
good
I
at.
think sometimes I think I'm gonna get like some sort of insert and I try it, even though I know it's not gonna work.
Okay. So yeah, for you specifically, James, great idea there. Prep yourself with a couple more moves here, because your blues are still sitting here pretty close but not lined up exactly, so that way if you hit that insert like you did there and it messes up and you're like, oh crap, what can I do here? I don't have a quick solution. Maybe you had enough time to quickly go to the right there and get you a 4 combo.
Yeah. We've been going for a decent chunk now. I got a little bit more time, but then I gotta go. So
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we can wrap this up pretty soon too. I know it is late for all of us here, but I mean, do you guys want me to look at a little bit more gameplay here? Do you have any specific questions? Do you have any? I can bring up the panel attack again, and we can go over a specific situation too. I'm all ears on what you guys have in mind. Oh, excuse me.
um, I don't know. I think I got a lot of good stuff. I think part of it is just recognizing things. Like it's funny because whenever you review games after the fact, it's like, oh, I can see all this stuff now. Why didn't I see that when I was playing? But
Mhm.
Yes.
it's
So
just how it
much
goes.
yes.
It's tough,
Hindsight is 2020.
and I think it makes sense. You guys are both pretty similar skill level too, and that the big thing I think both of you need to practice is the same, which is, I think it's just the board vision for the most part here, because I think it, I don't know how to describe it. It's always hard to find words for specific things here, but it's like you both are like in the transition period of trying to optimize how to play on level 10, because you both have had plenty of experience with it right now, but it's still hard to get to that next level. And I think a lot of that is just opening your mind to different clears, because obviously you can be one route and just be a really, really fast player and just kind of bail yourself out with a lot of situations. But then I think if you go by that route, eventually you hit a wall again and you have to learn how to deal with specific situations in order to survive longer.
Yeah.
So yeah, the thing I'd recommend for both of you is definitely just probably raise your stack a little bit more, especially on your opening attack if it starts feeling more comfortable for you, because it's going to usually lead to that bigger opening. Do that anytime you find opportunities in the middle of the match too. Don't be afraid to do it. You can line up your clear beforehand, and then right before you get that clear done, raise it up just a little bit. Also, good job finding that third tier there, getting all that cleared up at the top there. But yeah, having that, and then also just having additional clears on your board. So if you have the time, or while garbage is clearing on your side and you have just so much time and you feel like you're just sitting there waiting for it to clear, line up other things on your other side of your board. That way, if something bad were to happen, you got something else to go to. Because the
Wait,
name
we're
it,
not supposed to just wiggle?
I mean, you could. If you are confident with your wiggle ability, then go for it. But yeah, have a lot at your disposal. That's just the big thing I can offer. And then keep yourself with a lot of panels on your screen, because the number one goal at your level of play, I feel like, is have your opponent topped off. And the more panels you can have and the more things you have lined up, usually your offense is going to improve from that. Nice stealth swap there to set up the A combo, by the way.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the last couple games, I was totally on it, and then and then it'll switch to being like, okay, I can't find anything.
I feel like that's how this game goes too, because I mean, sometimes the game will give you patterns you're not used to dealing with too, and then if that happens and you're dropping a couple games, maybe you get flustered and it affects your play as well.
Mm-hmm.
Panel's a brutal game at the end of the day. But yeah,
Brutal but rewarding.
for sure. It's super fun game. Would not be playing it as long as I have if it wasn't. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that I could probably like nitpick here and there, but most of the stuff isn't important. And it's mistakes that even players above your elo will still be making. I don't think it's important to work on like a whole bunch of things at the same time. I think it's important to grind out one quality at first, see how you've been doing with that, and if you're progressing really good, then you can try to work on something else. But yeah, big thing, I'll just say, work on the vision, more creative clears. See if something works well for you. Go for something that maybe you're not used to doing, practice it out and it feels good, then implement it in your game. Set up the clears beforehand, raise your stack more, and that's the pretty much the big things on my mind. If you guys have anything else, feel free to
When you were
ask.
going through this process, Forky, like the process, I know this is like probably a while ago for you, but the process of kind of growing your skills, did you find that, you were in situations where you're like relentlessly looking for chains over other things and maybe that causes problems? Like, you know, are there some, because that's kind of the difficulty of panel, right? Is that the improvement is never in a straight line. It's always, you know, kind of roundabout, sometimes two steps forward and one step back. So, like, as you grow in this process, do you find that maybe like, maybe I'm chain hunting too hard as I'm developing this skill, or like what are some kind of normal growing pains you think for this process?
Uh, I I think still to this day I have issues with that. Like just to point out the most recent tournament we had at the beginning of this month with the Airwalkers tournament, it was my lowest placing I've ever gotten. And a lot of my friendly matches around that time too were kind of seeming a little bit lackluster. And I have been trying to change up a little bit of the way I've been playing. Like playing more defensive has been a lot of my gameplay right now. And I kind of like what you said, I've been thinking sometimes, have I not been sending enough chains and enough garbage, because I found so many opportunities where my opponents haven't been topped off. I think it's totally a normal thing. And if you are looking to improve your game and trying new strategies in your game, you might do worse. You actually might. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because you're throwing in new stuff. It feels uncomfortable for you, and you might be tempted to kind of go back to a different style before. And that's totally how I felt when I returned to the panel scene last year, where I was joining tournaments once again and kind of underperforming. And some of the habits I noticed the new age players were doing, I didn't implement. And I tried practicing them for a little bit, and it was really hard to do. And so I kind of, for a majority of last year, I kind of just stuck with what I knew. And honestly, I did not see any improvements until this year, when I actually forced myself to do those things. And it was still a little bit rough at first, but then I finally got the hang of them. And this has been so much of a better year in terms of like performance in tournaments than last year by a mile for me. So for any new player playing, because this applies to any level, when you're putting in new tactics and learning new things, whether it be like trying to maybe extend your chains out more and it leaves you with less panels, so maybe you take earlier deaths, that's gonna happen. But eventually you're gonna find ways to survive more, and guess what, your chains are still doing really well. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle to change your game plan at first. Same thing with combos. Maybe you start practicing 5 and 6 combos more to get in a better habit with that. Oh man, my opponent's never topped off. Should I keep doing this? All of a sudden, you practice more and more, and you're finding them more and more consistently, and then your opponent's topped off. So, I guess to answer the question, it will be weird. There will be growing pains there, and it will happen when you are trying to implement new chaining styles, new combo styles, new defensive styles, any kind of board vision. Like maybe what I tell you guys today, when you practice board vision, maybe you slow down a little bit and you're trying to find these things, and all of a sudden you're taking more and more deaths, and it just doesn't feel right. But stick out with it. See if it still does give you results. Take the time to practice it more and more. More often than not, you'll start to see, like out of nowhere, you'll just start to see you performing better and better. A really good example of this is like Fudu this year. Is someone I kept my eye on a lot because I met him at Combo Breaker in May. And he's always been like, he was like a high bronze, mid silver player. Never won a tournament. He played at Combo Breaker. And then after he did really well at that tournament, he was inspired to just get better pretty much over the summer. And that, I feel like that's when he started to take his practice more seriously. I think he did end up winning the novice tournament, but if you talk to him, I bet you he'd say he didn't feel like he played any better because he was kind of stuck at the same elo the whole time. And then all of a sudden, this past 2 months, this guy's taking sets off of platinum players because he's just been practicing, and I feel like he's finally perfected a lot of the gameplay he's been doing. And he's like made 4 or 5 upsets above his seeding in the past month or so. So
Was it the expert tourney?
what was that, Newsy? I'm sorry.
Really cool. He beat AQ at the expert tourney. That was an
Yeah,
upset.
he beat AQ Raider, who was like 3rd seed that tournament. He He beat Sanker just this last month, which I believe there's a point in time, like even at the beginning of the year, they were probably like 300 points apart on the leaderboard. And he beat someone else at Airwalkers who was seated above him. So just a little example there of how I think Fudu was a great example. He just started to take it a little bit more seriously, didn't see immediate results, and all of a sudden it feels like he's just skyrocketed this past month or so.
So be patient with it, because it might take
Yes.
some time.
This
Okay.
this game, and I don't blame you if you aren't patient, because this game it's so frustrating. It's such a difficult game, even though it can appear simple, honestly. I mean, you match 3 or more in a row at its core. That's like the only rules you need to know. But there's little things you can implement more and more there. And sorry to go off on a tangent and whatnot for that, but I just wanted to talk about the success for Fudu and how well he's been doing. But yeah, I would say, once again, just work on something, give it some chance, because sometimes it might not work out for you. Maybe, like, if you're trying to force combo storm, for instance, and you're one of the slower players like myself, sometimes it's just really hard to keep it up, and you either might have to go change the direction, like maybe try to make your cursor speed faster instead before you try to implement that. So I think it's totally fine to experiment with ways to improve your play, but stick with something, see if you're seeing results with it, keep practicing until you get pretty proficient with it.
All right, I'm gonna have to go pretty soon, but we almost made it through the set. You guys could finish it if you wanted to without me.
True. We are like 10 minutes in. I think since it's like almost 2 here, I'm gonna wrap it up anyways. And maybe I'll look on it at the side later and see if there's anything else I noticed. But yeah, I think that's it for me. Any final
Thank you.
thoughts?
This has been really helpful. Thank you so much, Forky.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you, James, for recording this, by the way, and offering it, and both of you coming on to actively talk. It's always really fun. Yeah, last reminder, just work on board vision, work on raising stacks, work a little bit on the offense right now. And a lot of the stuff you guys have been doing has been pretty well, so keep up the good work.
Nice.
Thank you, Forky.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, Forky.
All right. Well, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for this pretty good session. Thanks for James and Newsy coming on the mic to discuss this.